Hi, I'm Assistant Professor Aditi Mathur from International Schools of Business Management, Suresh Gyan Vihara University, Jaipur. And today we'll be studying law of demand. So what we all will be covering in today's video lecture. We'll be covering what is law of demand, what are the assumptions related to this law of demand, what are the determinants of demand, and demand functions. So let's start with understanding what does law of demand states. Law of demand states that other thing being constant, that is ether paribus, the demand for a goods extends with decrease in prices and contracts with an increase in prices. That means there is always an inverse relationship between quantity demanded of a commodity and its prices. So what actually this law of demand states can be learned or explained with the help of a small example. Let's take an example that you are asked to buy sugar, and when you go to the shopkeeper, shopkeeper says that for 5 kg he is going to charge 50 rupees, right? So definitely, if shopkeepers give you a discount, let's take, he says that I will give you at the rate of 45 rupees, you will definitely like to buy more. Maybe you might go and consume 7 kgs of sugar. But if he says that no, because of the pandemic, I am going to charge at the rate of 55 rupees, then definitely you will reduce your quantity demand and you might only, demand for 3.5 kgs of sugar. So this is what the law of demand actually states. It states that if the prices will decrease, the quantity demands will increase, which we have seen, and if the prices will increase, the quantity demand will automatically decrease. And because of a very common reason that you will like to buy more at a cheap rate or a reasonable rate in comparison to which is a higher rated product, right? And that is why generally you like to go and have a offers, and you like to enjoy all the discounts which are there in the market, especially at the Diwali time or at the end season sales and all, because you know that the worth has been given to you at a minimal rate which you can afford, and you can buy more of the quantity. So this is an inverse relationship. Why? Because there are two variables. One is the quantity demanded and the another one is your price. So when your quantity demand is affected with the price, and when you study this both relationship, you come to know that in law of demand this relationship is inverse relationship. Why? Because if one increases, another decreases, and if the one is decreasing, the another will automatically increase, right? So the other things, what are these other things? These other things are your other factors which we will be discussing, but still let's have a look on other factors. The other factors are your income of the consumer, taste and preference of the consumer, prices of the other related goods, and many more. So we assume that when we are talking about the law of demand, that time all the other factors which I have stated right now are same. That means there is no change in income of a consumer. There is no change in taste and preference of a consumer. There is no change in the prices of the related goods, but only the price of your good and quantity demand of your good are getting affected. And that relationship, when it is inverse, you say it is a law of demand. As you know that all the laws are, written down or stated in some assumptions. Same way, we have basically four assumptions of our law of demand. So the first assumption is that the taste and preferences of the customer will be same. That is, there will be always constant, which is bit impossible. Only when we assume this, that the taste and preferences of the customers will not change, then only we can say that we can see the impressions of law of demand in a particular goods. Why? Because we all are human beings and we like to, buy a product with a new variant, or we will like to have a, experience of a new product line, or we like to have a new brand in our wardrobe. So we keep on changing, we keep on adapting, our taste change. Like a kid might like candy floss, but later on that person might not like to have a candy floss, right? The taste changes when you grow up, right? A girl might be, having a favorite flavor as a strawberry when she was in kindergarten or in the preschools or something like that, but later on when she grows up, she likes to have a chocolate flavor, right? So what I'm trying to say, the tastes and the preferences changes time to time, season to season. So assuming that it will never change is bit impossible, and that is why we assume that the taste and preferences of our customers will never change, and then only we can see the inverse relationship, right? Because definitely if taste will change, you will buy another product, not the product for which you are doing the study. So the another assumption is your that there is no change in income of consumer. Oh my god, it is one of the biggest assumptions we are talking about right now, because that means that you are going to earn always a certain amount of money at which you have started. You will never get increment, you will never get promoted, you will never have other sources of income, or you will not like to have some other sources of income in upcoming years or something like that. You will always be at that same income level. No, it is not possible, right? People work hard, they achieve some milestones or targets, and they increase their income level. The real income also increases, right? The overall income of a family also increases. Before, it might be that the only father is earning the money, but later on, when the son has graduated or post graduated and he got a job opportunity, so definitely the income of the family will also increase because there is one more earning member. So definitely the income will increase of the family, or the customer's increment will help him to increase his real income. He will like to buy a bit, advanced version of that product. He will like to have a better version of a product, a better quality, a more expensive version. Why not? Don't you like to have always latest versions of your mobile phones or any electronic item, maybe the laptop? I need a very latest technology based laptop. It is always the expectation, and because of which you like to have earn more and more of money, and once you reach certain amount of income slab, you will like to buy definitely a good brand money. If you are earning more than a good amount of money in comparison, you will like to switch to Apple instead of sticking towards the Samsung or your Android phones, right? So if you are assuming that there is no change in income, we always be going to earn 50,000 rupees. No, beta, it is not possible. So that is why we are assuming. And definitely if income will increase, might be possible that before you used to only buy 4 kgs of sugar, but now because your income have increased, you will like to have 5 kgs of sugar. Possible. You will like to keep 1 kg as your buffer, you will like to have in your storeroom. In case of emergency, you might need it. Before, you might not be able to afford the emergency stocks, but now because your income have increased, you will like to demand more, right? You will might like to demand two more jeans instead of having a one jeans. So this is what, this is one of the assumptions we are taking, that no, There is no such thing. There is no increase in income. There is no increase in real income, which is actually not possible. And that is why, to study the effect of only two factors, that is price of a commodity versus the quantity demanded of that particular commodity, we say that we are assuming that the income is also not changing. The third is that the prices of related goods does not change. In the upcoming slides, I will discuss with you what are the related goods. So you'll be very clear with the related good concept. But right now at the initial stage, I would like to say the related goods, one of the type of a related goods is a substitute goods. Right, that means your competitor, the product which can be substituted by your goods, right? Maybe you are Colgate toothpaste company, the toothpaste of Colgate, so Pepsodent toothpaste is your substitute, right? So if the substitute goods, right, if their prices changes, the demand of your goods are affected. But obviously, let's take an example that today your product, that is Colgate, is at the rate of 100, right? And Pepsodent say that I am offering a discount. I am only selling at the rate of 90. Same quantity. Definitely, the people, the customer who used to buy Colgate will go and buy Pepsodent. So don't you think that your quantity demand will decrease because there is a decrease in the price of the competitor, right? So this is one of the things which actually prevail in the market. But while we are studying the law of demand, what we are saying, other factors being constant, that means that related goods, there is no changes in the prices of related goods. That means if the Pepsodent was also selling at 100, so they will also keep on selling their product at 100. They will not change. They will not charge 101. They will not charge 99. They will sell it at 100 only. So this is also one of the assumptions. The fourth assumption is that the consumers do not expect any changes in the prices of commodity in near future. Don't you think that many a time your parents, predict the prices of a commodity in upcoming future, that there are more probability ki and a mango will get cheap in 1 month. So let's wait right now. Let's just only buy 2 kgs. When the rates will decrease, we will buy more of mangoes at that time. They are predicting, they are expecting the changes in the prices, and it actually happens, right? So when there is a expectation that the prices in future will change because mango season is for a certain time, and now the season is going, so definitely the sellers will like to sell their product. They will not like to have the raw items with them because it's a perishable good. It will get destroyed, it will get spoiled. So they will, sell it at the very low rate, very economical rate. So at that time, the demand will increase and you will like to have more. Right now, you might not have the mango. You will buy it when you will have the, reasonable rated items. You will like to buy it when they will give you at 90 rupees, not at the right now when it is 150, right? So when the customer predicts, right, so demand of today also gets affected. You are not buying today because in future when the prices will decrease, at that time you will buy. So this expectation is assumed that there is no such expectation, which is again one of the assumptions. This is not possible because of the human nature. Every human being is expected to be a rational human being, right? And a rational human being always expect, right, he or she will always like to have a product which will be having or helping him to reduce his cost and increase the value earned, right? So as a rational human being, you will expect something in the future. And if you are saying that there is no such expectation, that means you are taking one of the again biggest assumptions. And these four assumptions are the base of the law of demand, right? So let's just have a quick recap on the assumptions. Assumption one, taste and preferences of the customer not changing. Assumption 2, income of customer not changing. Assumption 3, related goods prices are also not changing. And assumption 4, that there is going to be no expected changes in the prices of a commodity in near future. That is also same. The prices today is 100, tomorrow will also be 100, and in upcoming 2 years, 5 years, 10 years also it will be 100. It will neither reduce nor increase. It will be same. Right? So these are the assumptions. We assume that these are same, these are constant, and now we say that if the prices increases, your quantity demand decreases, and if your prices decreases, your quantity demand increases. And that is it in law of demand. Right? So let us just see to understand how we plot this law of demand and how we understand it in this graph. I do hope you can see the screen very clearly, in which I have drawn a small demand schedule, and the same thing is plotted on a graph in which x-axis represents your quantity demanded and y-axis represents the price of the commodity. Right? So when I plot these prices to quantity on the graph and I joined all the points, I get a curve which is dd, and this dd curve is known as your demand curve. And over here, through this schedule also, I can understand the law. Let's take the 300 unit at the rupees of 3 as our baseline, which is actually our point R. We are assuming it is our base because we need something for comparison. So we are taking it as a base, right? And now let's compare this 3 rupees with 2 rupees. When the prices decreases by 1 rupee, can you see that there is an increase in the quantity demanded? See again over here, the prices decreases, quantity demand increases, right? And if the prices increases, quantity demand reduces. Right? And this is the reason why your demand curve always slow downward, because if one is increasing, another is decreasing. Right? So this is a small explanation. You can just check it and let me know if any doubt. Right? You need to always have a base. You can have base anytime, anywhere. If you take a base of 500, this 100 units at the rate of 5, then you can see that when the rates are reducing, your quantity demand are increasing. If you take this as your base, that 1 is to 600, then when the rates are increasing, your quantity demand is decreasing. Anything can be base, but I took at the 3 because it is easier for you to see on the graphs also. Right? So let's move ahead and study the determinants of the demand. In my previous video, I have already shared that what is demand, right? Demand is what? When there is a need of a commodity, that need is added with the desire, and that desire is supported by your income or the willingness to buy a product. You have money, sufficient amount of money to buy that product, and you are willing to expend to buy that product, then it is said that the demand is created. So this demand is actually have few of the important determinants. The first determinant is your price of that same product. Then we have income of the customer. We have prices of related goods. We have consumer expectation. We have number of buyers in the market. And then we have taste and preferences. Let's look them one by one. Prices of the product. This is one of the first parameter which helps every customer to take a decision whether he or she wants to buy that product or not. Let's take a small example and understand it. You want to eat something so that you can satisfy your hunger. Okay, you are hungry and you want to eat something so that your hungerness can be reduced. So your desire which is created, might be you want to have a pizza, or might be you want to have a burger, or you might want to have a Chinese food, right? Your desire is there. You can desire anything. Let's take an example that I desire to have a plate of let's take a plate of Manchurian and fried rice, right? This is my desire that if I will have a Manchurian and fried rice, a combo of this product, I'm going to satisfy, right? Now, if I will go to one of the big restaurants, right, and then I'm going to order, it might come up to rupees 1,000. Okay, a plate of Manchurian and a fried rice might come up to a rupees 1,000 because I'm going to one of the pronounced restaurants or a hotel and I'm eating, so it will end up after GST and all the service taxes and all. But do I have that sufficient amount to buy this 1,000 rupees food combo? If I don't have 1,000 rupees, I cannot buy it even if I'm willing to buy it, right? I will not be able to create that demand in that hotel or in that restaurant because I don't have money to purchase this product of 1,000 rupee. So demand is affected with the price of your commodity. If you will rate your product very high, the people might not be able to afford it. And it happens. We have seen many cases like the Apple phone is one of the classic examples. Everyone cannot afford Apple products, right? But yes, everyone can afford. If they want to, they can save and they can, come up to the range or the varieties of the Samsung series. There are lots and lots of Samsung products which everyone of depending on their income level can afford it, right? But affording an Apple is a bit tricky and difficult task. So product price plays a very vital role, right? And that's why all the companies try to reduce their price. They try to overcome the cost, the long term cost, so that they can give the products at the very minimal or the very economical rates, and they can earn the profit margin as well. So one of the determinants of the demand of a product is the price of that respective product itself, right? The another is the income of the consumer. Let's take an example. I earn 1 lakh rupee per month, right? This is my income. That means in a year, I earn 12 lakh rupees. Okay. Now, if I, because of this income level, was able to afford one laptop only, we are assuming, right? And I get promoted and now I have income of 1,50,000 per month. Don't you think now I might like to have one more laptop? That means total 2 laptops I can afford, or I will like to buy, or I will like to have one more laptop because my income has increased, right? So what is this? If your income increases, you try to demand more, right? And always you try to demand good quality product. Maybe before you were buying a low quality rice, but now you have increased in income, you are having more of income in your family, you will like to have a basmati rice, right? You will like to shift your category from inferior to superior. You will like to buy more of quantity of goods. Before, you might be able to purchase only once in a week, maybe a chicken or a mutton, but now your income has increases. You might be able to buy more of meat items because meat is expensive in comparison to the vegetarian food, right? You might like to now go to buy 2 times a meat to in comparison to earlier times, right? So this is the effect of income of a customer. And let's take an example on the worst situation. If that person is unemployed, he has been, asked to resign from his organization, and he's not having that much of money now. He's not earning. He's totally dependent on his, savings, which he have made in for a certain number of years. Definitely, he will not, like to have even a single laptop, right? Because he's not earning, or he will not like to eat any non-veg item. He will not go and to the meat shop. He will stick to dal chawal, the stable foods, because he know that he's not in that income status right now to buy these luxury items for him, right? So income plays a very vital role because it directly affects your demand, right? If income increases, you will like to demand more of goods or more of expensive items, relatively good quality items. But if your income reduces, you will like to be a very simple and will like to just go to very minimal expenses. You will not demand more, right? So the third factor is your prices of related goods or services. As I have stated in previous slides, the related goods or services can be complementary and substitute. So now let's just first understand what is complementary goods. Complementary goods are those goods which helps your product to increase the quality or the need, right? Like the bread, right? Bread and butter, they go hand in hand. So bread and butter are what? Bread and butter are complementary. You will buy butter when you have bread. You will buy refills when you have pen, right? You will buy petrol when you have a car or a vehicle. They both are what? They are complementary. That means you need one to have another. You will like to have the ink of the printers only when you will have the ink, or you will like to have this A4 sheets carton of the boxes of that rims, paper rims, only if you have a printer. Otherwise, why you will buy? They are complementary to each other. One supports another. Whereas substitute are like a competitor term, like tea or coffee, Pepsi or Coca-Cola, right? Chach or lassi, right? So they are what? They are substitute. They can substitute. If you don't buy one brand, you have another brand to go. If you don't have Taj, you might go for the red label if you are buying a tea. They are substitute, right? So if we say that the prices of related good increases or decreases, definitely it impacts your demand. How? Let's take an example and understand. Let's take an example of first a complementary good, and take an example of bread and butter, right? We are bread manufacturing company, and our prices are not changing. So let's take an example. At the rate of 10 rupees, we are getting a demand of 100 breads, okay? And at the rate of 10, they are having a demand of 110. Okay, it might be possible because butter is butter. It is used, in other items like in cooking, also in vegetables or in other food items. You need to have a butter. It is one of the ingredients in cooking. So butter 110 demand is there when they sell it at 10 rupees, and they both are complementary. Let's take an example and assume that this butter company reduces its price, okay, and now they are selling at 9 rupees. Okay, so definitely they will have more of customers for their own products, and because of which we can also see that our customers might also increase. Why? Because if you are buying butter, you might also need bread to eat. Logical. What a person will do with lots of butter if we don't have bread? Because they go in combo, they go in hand, right? So we can say if the prices of a complementary good reduces, your demand increases, right? So this is also one of the factors which affects your demand, right? Now let's take an example of a substitute, and let's take tea and coffee example. Tea versus coffee. We are tea manufacturing company. We are a tea lover people, right? And at the rate of 10, we get demand of 100, right? And coffee at the rate of 10, they get demand of only 80. Okay. Now let's take an example, and let's assume that coffee manufacturing company increased their prices, and now they are selling at 10 rupees, sorry, at 11 rupees, right? They are selling at 11 rupees, right? So don't you think their demand will decrease because their prices have increased? It is 11 rupees now. So now maybe 70 people only might be demanding, right? And because of the increase in the prices of coffee, you can see that there is increase in the demand of your product, because the coffee will people will buy tea. You need something in the morning to drink. So you cannot afford coffee, you will afford tea. Simple. If the coffee is expensive, you will go and buy more of tea. So can you see that if the prices of the substitute good increases, demand of your good also increases. So this is also affecting your demand. Your prices are not changing in both the situation, whether complementary or substitute, but your demanded are affected by the both the situation, even if your prices increases or decreases in both the cases, substitute or complementary. And that is why they are one of the determinants of your demand, right? So now let's move ahead and see our fourth point, which is consumers' expectation. What are the expectations of consumer? I have discussed previously, so let us just have a quick review. Expectations of a high income or expecting and high prices in goods will lead to reduce in the quantity demanded at present, right? Let's take an example. Today we are at 1,121, right? And price of mango is 100 rupees for 5 kgs, right? And we have assumed and we were able to predict aram se, because mango is a very perishable item, and we know that it is a season. Seasons comes for the mango. So you know that after 2 months, maybe let's take on March, 1st March, or let's take at 31st March 21, you feel that it will reduce, your prices will reduce, and it will be approximately somewhere down the line 80 rupees for 5 kg. So don't you think, because your prices will reduce in future, you will buy less right now and buy more over here, which generally takes place at the time when there are the announcement of the changes in petrol prices. Just imagine that situation when there is always an announcement that from tomorrow onwards, the prices of a petrol will increase. Don't you all take your vehicle and rush towards the petrol pumps or the diesel stations? Right? Why? Because prices in future is increasing, demand right now increases. Let's buy because today is cheap. So let's buy today. Tomorrow the prices will increase. Or if let's suppose there is a vice versa situation that tomorrow you come to know that tomorrow the prices will decrease of the petrol, you will not fill the petrol tank today of your vehicle. You will say let's wait. Tomorrow we will do it when it is cheap. We will get at least few liters extra. For that few milliliters extra, you will not buy today because you know that I will getting a cheap rate amount, cheap rated product tomorrow. So why to do it expenses today? Because you know that the customer is what? Customer is a rational human being, and because he is a rational human, he will predict, and once he predict and expect, the demand of your commodity today will get affected, right? So the fifth one is the number of buyers in the market. To understand this concept, you might, have seen many of these shops which are tailor designed shops, right? Tailor designed suits are available, boutiques are there, right? They design as you demand, as you say, right? So what happens is that when you are the only single buyer, definitely the prices of that product will be more. But when you go to the mall and you see that there are lots and lots of shirts or t-shirts of same type, same quality available at, so don't you think that the price of that is cheap in comparison to when you will go and design it at a tailor made as per your expectation, as per your fitting? Definitely. So the number of buyers also plays a matter. When there are few buyers, your product prices is more. And when there are large number of buyers, your prices will be reasonable. Right? So this is one of the way in which your demand is also affected. When there are large number of buyers, your prices will be comparatively low if there are few number of buyers. Right? Now let's just go and understand in detail what is demand function. Right? We have understood what is demand. We know what are the assumptions of the demand. We know the determinants of demand. So now what is demand function? So demand function is actually a relationship, right, between one variable and its determinants. Right? It describes how much quantity of the goods are purchased at alternate prices of the good itself or of the related goods, all because of there is changes in their income level. So demand function shows the relationship between the quantity demanded of a commodity and factors influencing, right? So it can be anything. But one thing is very common and stable, that is quantity demand of your product. So it is going to be quantity demand of your product is to price of your product, or is to price of the related good, or is to income of the customer, or because of the taste and preferences of your product from the customer's side. So it can be anything. So one side for this relationship, one variable is common, it's fixed, that is the quantity demanded, and you are comparing it with the other determinants, right? So it can be either with respect to one customer. If you are just understanding for one customer, you will say it as an individual demand function. But when you are understanding for all the customers which are prevailing in the market for your product, then it becomes a market demand function. So we can say that the demand function is further bifurcated into two. It is individual demand function or your market demand function. So let us just see one by one to both of them. So what is your individual demand function? Individual demand function refers to the functional relationship between individual demand and the factors affecting individual demand. So what are the factors affecting individual demand? Price of the commodity, price of the related good, income of the consumer, and taste and preferences of the product by the consumer, and the future expectations. So this is how actually we denotes or writes our individual demand function. Whereas dx is equals to demand of a commodity, f stands or represents the function, px is price of the commodity, PR is prices of the related good, Y stands for income of the customer, T stands for taste and preferences, and F stands for the future expectations of the prices. Right? So these all together studied with the relationship of demand is your individual demand level. Why? Because you are understanding it for only a particular one single customer only, not for everyone. A single customer, for me, for you, just that's it. And demand function is the shorthand way of saying that the quantity demand, which is on your left side, is assumed to depend on the variables listed in your right side. So how many variables do we have? We have 5 main variables, right? So what are they? Price of the commodity, price of the related good, income of the customer, taste and preferences, and future expected prices, right? So I do hope now these things are on your tips, because we have discussed in detail to them and they are very important for you to understand. So now let's just understand what is market demand function. As I have stated before, market demand function is what? Market demand function is a function which helps us to understand the functional relationship between market demand and factors affecting the market demand, right? So now, are the factors affecting the market demands will be same as we have studied the factors affecting individual demand? No, beta. There are some additions, right? This list becomes bit more complex. So if you see that in this, till here, it is same as individual demand function. But we have 3 more extra points. When we add it in totality, it becomes market demand function. So what are the common points? The common points is the price of a commodity, price of the related, income of the consumer, taste and preferences, and future expected prices. Then ma'am, what are the extra one? The extras are this 3. They are very important. P0, S and D. What is P0? Size and composition of population. Ma'am, why it was not included in individual level? Because beta, individual level, you don't need to understand the size of a population, na? At the market level, you need to understand that what is the size and composition of the population. That means how many people are buying your products in totality, right? Ma'am, seasons and weather, it definitely you need to know that. I told you the example, we have discussed the example of the mango right now, right? What was that? Season based product, right? So when it is in you, it is more in cost, and when the season goes and the time comes near that the product is going to vanish from the market for that particular year, at that time the prices reduces. So it also is a very important factor, season and weather. And then D stands for distribution of income. Very important. What do you mean by distribution of income? That means how much income on an average people spend to buy your product. percentage on an average, right? Because that decide if this income percentage decreases or increases, your demand also varies. If a 2% of the income is spent by a customer on your product, if the income increases, definitely the 2% amount will also increase. So that is why the distribution of income is also a very important part when we talk at the level of market demand function. But at the individual demand function, you have only 5, but at the market demand thing, you have 5 plus 3, that is your, right? So this is all for the market demand function. So what are the references for my today's video lecture? I have used two of the very good books. One is Managerial Economics by the Dwivedi, and the another is the Principles of Economics by N. George. So you can use both these books. Any of the books which are there in your available market, they are also relevant for the purpose of the today's lecture. Just look into that whether they have explained it in that simplest way which I have used or not, because this is the most simplest way in which you can learn the law of demand, the determinants of the demand, and the factors affecting the law of demand, that is the determinants again, and your market demand function and your individual demand function. So let's just have a quick recap with the help of the MCQs. So here are the first 6 MCQs. Please take time and solve, because you know these MCQs will help you out to understand this concept with more clarity, right? So just solve these 6 MCQs, then we will continue with this next slide, which comprises of 4 MCQs more. These are the next 4 MCQs. So do hope that you were easily able to solve the MCQs, and do hope that we have thoroughly completed the topic, that is the law of demand, the determinants of the law of demand, and the market demand function and the individual demand function. So that's all for this video lecture. Thank you.